we're ready to start. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We're back on the 1500, the 92 1500. As you can see, I've gotten my fuel fittings in, the regulators plumbed, thermostats in. I got my adapter to neck down my coolant temp sensor. I'm actually going to start on spark plug wires today, because I can't finish the fuel system because I realized I'm out of Oticre clamps for our Earl's fuel line too, because as I said, we're not doing AN fittings on this one. Oh, also, I got in the coolant bottle that we're going to be using for this truck, since we got rid of the one that was over there to make room for all the other I was going to say go fast goodies, but probably just run really well goodies. Other than that, I'm going to get to cutting and stripping these things to length to where I want them and install them all in. Well, there we go. Wires are done. Go down each side as neat as they need to be. All I've got to do now before I cut out all this extra crap I don't need out of this main harness is finish my fuel lines so I can fire it up and make sure everything does run as designed with all that other crap out of there, and it's not causing any fail-safes to shut down anything. Really, the only thing I can't remember on this 92 if it's got a VAT system or not, but really the only thing that it could shut down that could stop the engine now is a theft code of some kind, because everything is run off of the Sniper now. But for shits and giggles, before I leave today, because I've got a splitting headache and I want to go home and lay down for the rest of the day. So it's Friday too, so that way I can rest and be feeling good to enjoy myself for the weekend. I'm going to see if his stock air cleaner assembly fits, just in case he wants to run it. I personally would not run it, but he might want to, so we're gonna see if it fits on here still. Well, I'll be damned. If the guy wanted to run it, it all fits. It's not fully, so that's fully flush. I just don't have a long enough stud to mount that here. But holy crap. So that means the old intake, oh, you know what? There was a big old spacer between the throttle body and that cover for the PCV ventilation system. So that's where I was going to say, because this seems a hell of a lot taller than that whole assembly, but I was forgetting I wasn't this spacer right here. I wasn't adding this in. This is a good 1.5 inch spacer that mounts that to that driver's side valve cover breather. All right, so yeah, so it's the same height as stock for this old style TBI setup. If you want to run a stock style air cleaner, well, you need some measurements. One thing I also did find is I forgot to hook up my ground cable, so I'm going to do that right now before I leave. And if you're wondering, I disconnected the fuel pump because my fuel lines still aren't done and I don't want to spill fuel all over the ground. Gave it a little tss with some brake clean in the throttle body, and she fired right up, if you know, long enough before the brake clean burnt out of it. But that's a good sign. That means it runs. That means once I get the fuel lines on, turn key and go. Do a little tuning and ship it. Oh, actually, I still have a rear disc brake conversion to do on this, but that's easy stuff. But that's it for me today. Like I said, it's Friday. It's close to 4:30 now. I've got a pounding headache. I want to go home. So that's going to wrap it up for today on the 92 Chevy. But on Monday, we'll be doing the fuel lines and possibly having it running. I got to see if we can get some of the correct size Oticre clamps here. All I have right now, unfortunately, are heater line size. I ran out of fuel line size, and I'm doing fuel lines, so But I'm going to hook up that ground. I'm going to take off for the day, and I will see you guys and girls on Monday. Good Monday morning, everyone. Well, carpet's here finally for the truck, so we're letting that stretch out and, you know, get rid of the rolled up shape form it comes in when it's in that box. The elves were in this weekend, and by elves, I mean Boss Man. He got the driver's door stuff in, not finished, but in. Still need to do the trim and center, or not center armrest and everything. Other than that, I don't think too much more was done to this weekend. What I'm going to work on today, though, actually, is we're going back on the 92 1500. I got to open up and break down those 3 boxes right there, because that's the rear disc conversion. And we're going to do that today because I am still waiting for my clamps to get here to finish the fuel system. I am going to run my fuel lines today, but we don't have any clamps yet. So we also have the horns for the 75, the headlight buckets for that, for this. Oh, all the bulbs are here for the 75. So those are going to go in too. But right now, we're gonna, like I said, unbox those boxes, put everything on the tailgate so I can make heads or tails of it, because this is a kit I haven't used before, so I want to make sure it's all there and everything's good. And put this up in the air and start unbolting stuff in the back to retrofit this to disc brakes. Well, here it all is. The good news is it looks like it's a complete kit. The bad news is there's 0 instructions. It's a rear disc brake kit conversion, so it's nothing out of the ordinary. But I do want to look up and make sure that stock e-brake cables are going to fit and whatnot, stuff like that. I do have, is this just a sticker? Oh, hey, look at that, instructions right there. Okay, cool. I take that back. So I'm going to go look it up and make sure how all this goes on, and stock cables and this and that, and most likely I'm going to have to pull the cover and the C-clips to pull the axles to get the factory plates off, unless they instruct you to cut them off. We'll see. But I'm going to go look that up right now. Well, after looking through these instructions, this is actually not a bad little kit. They do have you cut the backing plates off, so that's good at least. So you don't have to pull axles, you don't have to do a rear cover gasket and put on put in new fluid is what I mean to say. So this is by Little Shop MFG Manufacturing.com. This kit's not that bad. It's a pretty well put together kit. Optioned out the way this guy has this one optioned out. It is, see if my option's saved. Yes, it is $727 for the kit. And he went with, you can get non-parking brake calipers or parking brake calipers in black or red, and you can even upgrade to Willwards. You can do smooth rotors or drilled and slotted, stainless lines or stock ones, or rubber, I mean. And you can even upgrade to, if you need a upgraded master cylinder as well. But not too shabby. And yeah, so everything is on here, and they give you all that stuff. This is a pretty decent little kit. I'm color me a little bit impressed. I'm actually going to look on their site and see what other vehicles they have the options for. Shoot, they actually have stuff for Roadster Shop spec chassis. Didn't expect that. Wow, they have a front and rear 16-inch big brake kit for the spec chassis. What do we got? Willwood Pro Spindle front, 16-inch Mustang big brake kit. That is impressive. That's a nice big brake kit. No kidding. Alright, well, I'm going to do some cleaning up because it's getting a little cramped and a little messy in here for my OCD. And then we're going to put this up in the air, pull the brakes off, pull the wheels off, pull the brakes off, disassemble everything, cut those backing plates off, and start assembling all this stuff. And this should be an easy, done by lunchtime type deal. Alright, so we're all stripped down to the backing plate at least. All the junk that came off is in there. I'm gonna undo my line next so I can undo my 4 main bolts and rotate this thing and slice it how they want me to slice it. I'm going to save all this stuff for the customer. I don't know, they're probably going to junk it, especially since we have to cut the backing plate off and it's going to be no good, but that's where we are now. So we'll strip this side all the way down. As you can see, this drum has been rubbing on that backing plate a little bit. So it self-clearanced itself in there. Normal rust problems in the Northeast. Yeah, so we'll get this thing off, and I want to put this whole side together, and then we'll move over and start stripping the other side, because I want to just see from beginning to end how one whole side goes together. Alright, so next up, caliper brackets. So this little notch, according to the instructions, faces up, and your caliper should face to the rear. So we're going to slide that on, clean off your hub surface if you have to. And we'll bolt that in with the hardware they give us. And on top of that, it also bolts through your bracket for your brake line, which faces forward and towards the inside. Alright, brackets, double, are bolted on. So we're going to slide the rotor on next. Maybe. Here we go. Alright. Now I'll grab the caliper and bolt that on. Always a little bit of grease to your caliper pins, or screws, or bolts. Alright, so that's all attached, greased where they need to be. Pads greased where they need to be. We're going to do the soft line now. Hook it up to the banjo down here. Mount it into this bracket, and then you reform your factory line to go into that, and then we're going to do the e-brake cable. So they say in the instructions the e-brake cable may or may not be too long, which obviously this one is. So what they have you do is cut the end off of it, remove the spring because you don't need it anymore because you have this spring, and they give you a new locking collar to put on at the correct length. Oh, and there we go. That's your end result from this kit. I'm not too crazy about this. I'd rather put the right length cables in, but it will work, no problem. And the only other thing I wasn't crazy about is reusing the stock lines, only because it's super tight. I had to pull whatever slack we had throughout everything out to get this to line up in here, but it's in there now. So I'm going to put together the other side over there, and then we can bleed the brakes and make sure everything works. Alright, this side's all off. Used to be a backing plate. I'm bolting this on. We're going to finish all this one up, and then probably after lunch we'll bleed the brakes because we're getting awful close to lunch right now. Daylight savings time is really screwing with my time management. Alright, so this morning on the 92, finished up the fuel lines, got everything all clamped in. Got rid of the PCV valve and got a fixed orifice valve. If you're doing a Holly Sniper, this is something I've never mentioned, you are better off going with a fixed orifice valve because the PCV valve creates too much of a vacuum draw and causes havoc on the IAC. A little bit of inconsistencies with the fueling, but mainly it's the idle. So a normal fixed orifice valve, I'll give you a part number right here, will do you good. And now we're ready to start. All right, so as you can see, check engine light is on because I've eliminated 90% of the emissions crap, IAC, fuel injection, all that stuff. I'm gonna pull this cluster out, pull that bulb out because we don't need it anymore. Nothing on the engine is going to be monitored by the factory PCM anymore. What I am going to do now though is I'm going to, as you can see, my IAC counts are high. I'm going to set my idle, set my static timing and all that. This engine calls for 0 degrees at idle, so we're going to set the static timing and bring it down to 0 degrees, and then go from there and see how much timing that wants. We'll just go up little by little until we get some pinging or until our idle timing is too high. All right, so I just got back from my initial test drive. I didn't record because I was just too busy watching the handheld, making sure everything was where I needed to be. All right, we're connected. I did identify a problem, though. We have a charging issue, and I believe it's the alternator. We're going to see if it does. They're very hard, like almost dead battery crank now. So it's a lot lower than it should be. I do have the charger on it. Let's try a second time and see what happens. It's better with the charger on it. So we have a charging issue. I'm going to grab the battery tester and check the battery itself. It's, is it a Duralast? No, it's a Napa. It's a Napa from January of 23, so it should still be good. One thing I don't like is, if you look here, you can see that. Yeah, that's no bueno. So we may have that as the charging issue. So I'm going to let it charge overnight and see. And if the battery checks out, then it's definitely going to be that alternator with that janky stud on the back of it that should not be spinning like that. All right, ladies and gents. So we did some work on the 92 today. As you can see, everything is buttoned up. Didn't take you for that test drive, like I said. This alternator is definitely crapping out. It is not charging what it's supposed to do. It's putting out voltage, but it's not putting out any amperage, and that'll be because of whatever's broken inside this pass-through bulkhead, basically. Sucks, because I was getting ready to put some good miles on it and get this one tuned in, because it's pretty simple to get going, or to get tuned, because this is basically just a stock truck engine. So I disconnected one of these return springs because we don't need both of them on there, and it is a ton of pressure on the pedal to get this thing to go. The only other things I did see, these tacks were never, as we say, accurate. Like, none of these gauges were in these older trucks. Oil pressure, I'm assuming, is good. Working, I mean, because that does look like it's correct. Tack is like 2 to 250 RPM high. Speedometer kind of does what it wants, when it wants, works when it wants. If you've had any of these trucks, you know that's kind of what they do. And voltage, I can compare to the my phone, because there's no handheld on this car, and the voltage is reading correctly. But yeah, I was driving down the street, and for the longest time I had no speedometer, and then all of a sudden it would jump up, be where it's supposed to, kind of flicker, do that whole deal, whatever. So I'm going to charge this battery overnight and make sure that's good, and then we're going to probably let him know he needs an alternator. It is working electronically. I can unplug my exciter here and it drops voltage. And also you can hear it when you plug it back in. This thing is singing, and not bearing singing, like charging singing. So it's trying to charge. I just don't think it can get the amperage out there because that connection is broken in there. But I mean, other than that, this truck is pretty much done. It sounds a lot better with 4 barrels than it did with 2. It definitely runs a lot better. Overall, I think everything came out good on it. The rear brake conversion, it works awesome. E-brake feels good. Brake pedal feels good. So yeah, so that's that. So I got to do a few small odds and ends to this thing and finish it up, and then I will take you for a test drive. But I mean, other than that, that's it. That's a wrap for today. It's time to go home. It's a beautiful day here in Massachusetts. It's a beautiful spring day. So it's like 60 degrees out, which is awesome because we've had a crappy, cold, terrible winter. It's just been wet and cold and just freezing and then slush and horrible. So I will talk to you guys in the next video.